Nightcast. Stephen Lloyd Gilbreth brings you the current news from the world today and how it relates to Bible prophecy. Understanding the end-time events leading to the peaceful world tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Lloyd Gilbreth.
Good evening, friends, and welcome to this December 21, 2014 edition of Nightcast. Some rather shocking news to open with from the United States tonight. Friends, 2 New York City police officers have been shot dead in their patrol car by a lone gunman in what appears to be an ambush. The gunman, Ishmael Brinsley, Ishmael, interesting to note that name, 28 years old, then killed himself in a nearby subway station. You'll see that, you'll hear that again in this video report. Earlier, Brinsley had posted messages on Instagram. Well, I don't want to duplicate what they're saying here. Rajini Vadyanathan reports from Washington.
An assassination in broad daylight on the streets of Brooklyn. The 2 officers were sitting in their patrol car when they were shot in the head, point blank through the window. They didn't have time to draw their weapons. Rafael Ramos, on the left, was a father of 2. Wei-Jan Liu had been married for only 2 months. New York's Mayor Bill de Blasio described the deaths as despicable.
We depend on our police to protect us against forces of criminality and evil. They are a foundation of our society, and when they are attacked, it is an attack on the very concept of decency.
The gunman was 28-year-old Ishmael Brinsley, who fled to a nearby subway station where he shot himself. Police released this photo of the pistol he'd used. Officials say earlier in the day he'd turned it on his girlfriend in Baltimore, seriously injuring her. He'd also posted threatening messages against the police on the photo-sharing site Instagram, which referred to the recent police killings of the unarmed black men, Michael Brown and Eric Garner. There's been anger and protest in the wake of these cases, but the civil rights activist, the Reverend Al Sharpton, said it was reprehensible that anyone should use this to justify murder.
One of the reasons that it was important to come forward is because the name of Eric Garner and the name of Michael Brown has been used in this senseless act. So it is incumbent upon us to very publicly address it.
The deaths of these 2 policemen adds to the number of officers who've been killed in the line of duty in the US. This year, 122 have died, nearly 50 in gun-related incidents. President Obama paid tribute to the officers in New York and asked that people reject violence. As their bodies were led out of hospital, their colleagues paid their last respects in what's been described as an attack not just on 2 officers, but on society. Rajini Vadyanathan, BBC News, Washington.
Well, friends, in that report, you may have noticed, as I took note, that as never fails, the reporter pointed out that a gun was used in the incident. Well, it's sad, but there's another very similar incident out of France where a knife attacker who tried to kill police with a knife, and he did do quite a bit of injury to the policeman. The knife attacker has been shot dead by police in France. A man who has been killed by police near the city of Tours in central France after attacking officers with a knife. The assailant is said to have entered a police station shouting the equivalent of "God is great" in the Arabic language. Graeme Harrington has this report.
Police in this quiet suburb of Tours saw one of their colleagues stabbed in the face and 2 others wounded before they opened fire on the attacker, shooting him dead. The 3 officers are in hospital, but their lives are not in danger. The young man approached the station, which was closed to the public, in the early afternoon, appearing to be in a state of extreme agitation. When officers approached to try and calm him, he attacked them with a large kitchen knife, which he'd hidden in his bag, shouting, "Allahu Akbar, God is great." The French Interior Minister said the attack was extremely violent. The perpetrator was a French citizen born in Burundi and was known to police for petty crimes, but he wasn't on the watch list of the French intelligence services. But although he appears to have acted alone, nothing is being ruled out. The case is being handled by the Public Prosecutor's Counter-Terrorism Unit, and an investigation is underway for attempted murder and criminal conspiracy in connection with a terrorist organisation. Grania Harrington, BBC News.
Now, friends, that news report is from today's news, but that's an incident that happened yesterday. And then here's something. I don't have a video on it, but I do have a few photographs from today. This is not only today's news, but it's something that happened today. A driver in Dijon, France, targeted people at 5 locations there in Dijon. This driver was also shouting the Islamic phrase, "God is great," in Arabic, and he ran down pedestrians in Dijon, France, injuring 11, 2 seriously, French media say. He was arrested after targeting pedestrians in 5 parts of the city in the space of half an hour. He's said to be apparently imbalanced, quote unquote, and to have spent time in a psychiatric hospital. French police shot dead a man yesterday after he attacked, as we mentioned in the earlier first story, after he attacked the police with a knife, also shouting, "God is great." The lives of the 2 people seriously injured in Dijon are not said to be in danger. Witnesses told police the driver, aged around 40, had also said he was, quote, "acting for the children of Palestine," end quote. An unnamed source close to the investigation told AFP news agency. A spokesman for the Interior Ministry told French TV that he believed the attacker had been acting alone. The driver has been known to the police for minor incidents dating back 20 years, he added. The French Prime Minister tweeted in French to express his, quote, solidarity with the victims. Then we have another photograph from the same story, friends. The caption for this reads, "The driver was known to police and had a minor criminal record." Then we have another photograph related to this story. The caption on this one reads, "The incident in Dijon comes a day after a man attacked police with a knife in Tours. In yesterday's incident, a man injured 3 police officers in the city of Tours before being shot dead. Interior Minister Bernard Cazeneuve told French television the man had been, quote, very unstable. Anti-terrorism investigators have opened an inquiry into the attack. France has the largest number of Muslims in Western Europe, estimated at between 5 and 6 million. There have been a number of, quote, lone wolf attacks by Islamists in recent years. According to the day's news story, last year a convert in Islam stabbed a soldier in Paris. The main suspect in the murder of 4 people at a Belgian museum this year is a French-born man who spent a year fighting in Syria. In 2012, Mohamed Mara shot dead 7 people in the city of Toulouse before being killed himself in a police siege. And then, friends, I have a map of France illustrating and showing where Dijon is in relation to Paris in the country of France. Now, our next story, friends, relates to what's going on between the United States and Cuba. The Cuban president, Raul Castro, has addressed the closing session of Parliament just days after announcing an agreement with the United States to reestablish diplomatic ties. Mr. Castro said, there was still much to be done in terms of normalizing relations with Washington, but thanked President Obama for his willingness to roll back the decades of frozen relations. Will Grant has this report from Havana.
2014 has brought the promise of great change to Cuba. As President Raul Castro came to close Parliament, the applause was still ringing in his ears over the proposed thaw with Washington. The government took a moment to revel in what has been portrayed in Cuba as a victory over the imperial power to the north.
Ya están los cinco.
The five are back, the head of the parliament told the gathered deputies, as the now infamous group of Cuban intelligence officers, known as the Cuban Five, watched on. But when Mr. Castro took to the podium, he warned Parliament and the millions of Cubans watching at home to keep their feet on the ground.
Esta será una lucha larga y difícil.
This will be a long and difficult struggle. It will need international activism and for North American society to continue to call for the economic blockade to be lifted.
Still, something has been irreversibly set into motion on this communist island, and Raul Castro confirmed he would attend the same regional summit as President Obama as early as next spring. This was a speech that was high on symbolism, with the presence of the Cuban Five and Elian Gonzalez, but also it was defiant, with Raul Castro saying that Cuba would not be changing course in what has been one of the most historic years of the Cuban Revolution. Outside the chamber, the Cuban Five were mobbed like members of a visiting rock group. One of them said Mr. Obama had been brave in engaging with Cuba.
When he took that decision, he knew he was going to be fired upon by some people. But I believe he knew he had to do the right thing, and he summoned up the courage to do it, and I congratulate him for that.
There are high expectations for the future of US-Cuban relations as this extraordinary year draws to an end. The Cuban president entered a note of caution in his final speech. We don't expect them to change their political system, he said of Washington, but for the dialogue to succeed, we demand that they respect ours. Will Grant, BBC News, Havana.
And then, friends, we have another video related to the same thing. The one we just viewed was from today's news. This one is from yesterday's news and has essentially the same thing, but a different speech by Raul Castro here.
No debe pretenderse.
We can't pretend that by improving ties with the United States, Cuba will renounce the ideas for which it has fought for more than a century, for which its people have shed a lot of blood and have run the biggest of risks.
Agradezco la invitación del presidente de Panamá, Juan Carlos Varela, a participar en...
I am thankful for the invitation of the President of Panama, Juan Carlos Varela, to take part in the 7th Summit of the Americas, and I confirm that I will attend in order to express our positions with sincerity and respect for the heads of state and government.
Russia's President Vladimir Putin attended a top military gathering on Friday, during which his defense minister vowed to boost troops in Crimea. And that's the caption on this opening photograph for this story. And Russia says it will not, quote, cave in to pressure following a fresh set of U.S., EU, and Canadian sanctions over the conflict in Ukraine. A spokesman said Moscow regretted, quote, that the West is yet again displaying a complete lack of interest in resolving the crisis in southeast Ukraine. Russia was developing, quote, retaliatory measures, the spokesman said. The U.S. sanctions focused on Crimea, which was annexed by Russia in March. U.S. President Barack Obama signed an executive order to ban the export of goods technology and services to Crimea, in addition to new sanctions on Russian and Ukrainian individuals and companies. Mr. Obama said the move showed the U.S. would never accept Russia's annexation of Crimea. Similar measures agreed by the European Union earlier this week came into effect yesterday. On Saturday, Canada announced its own sanctions on Crimea on Friday. After the peninsula was annexed, pro-Russian separatists took control of parts of the Donetsk and Luhansk regions of eastern Ukraine in April and later declared independence. Some 4,700 people have died and another 1 million have been displaced by fighting in recent months. On Friday, 5 Ukrainian soldiers were killed in the fighting, the highest death toll since the latest attempt at a ceasefire began on December 9. In addition to the goods, technology, and services ban, U.S. individuals or companies cannot now buy any real estate or businesses in Crimea or fund Crimean firms. And then the caption with this next photograph for this story, friends, this was kind of sad. A child in Sevastopol plays with a weapon displayed as part of a promotional campaign by the Russian army. The new measures also include sanctions on 24 Ukrainian and Russian individuals and on a number of companies deemed to be destabilizing Ukraine. They include the Russian equity investment group Marshall Capital Partners. The Night Wolves biker group is also targeted for its involvement in military action in Crimea. The European Union announced its own sanctions against the region on Thursday. All investment in Crimea is banned, as is participation in Russian oil and gas exploration in the Black Sea. European cruise ships will not be able to visit the peninsula's ports, but like the EU, Mr. Obama said, he would not yet impose new sanctions on Russia itself, urging it again to de-escalate the tension in eastern Ukraine. And friends, I know I said that'd be our last story, but I believe this one would be a good one to include in tonight's report. Related to what just happened with the United States, Sony, and North Korea. Sony has pledged to find a way to get the film out. Let me back up just a little bit on this story. Okay, this is the caption, and we do have video with this too. The Sony hack, U.S. mulls putting North Korea back on its terror list. Let's go ahead and watch the video on this. Although, let me just tell you, the caption under the video reads, Sony has pledged to find a way to get the film out, as Katharina Moe reports.
To assassinate the leader of North Korea?
Yes. What? It's a story that's becoming more complicated than the original movie plot. In the latest twist of the saga surrounding Sony's film The Interview, the US president said his administration would review whether to restore North Korea to its list of state sponsors of terrorism during an interview on CNN.
I don't think it was an act of war. I think it was an act of cyber vandalism that was very costly, very expensive. We take it very seriously. We will respond proportionally, as I said. We've got very clear criteria as to what it means for a state to sponsor terrorism. And we don't make those judgments just based on the news of the day.
Look at this.
Kim Jong-un wants to do an interview with Dave Skylark?
He's a fan!
The FBI are blaming Pyongyang for a cyber attack on Sony Pictures because of this movie about a plot to assassinate the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Further anonymous threats of 9/11 type attacks on cinemas showing the film led to Sony cancelling its Christmas Day release. The action drew much criticism. Even President Obama called it a mistake to give in to the threats. Now the hacker journal 2600 says it has a solution for the company. It's offered to distribute the film on Christmas Day using methods usually used in online piracy. In an online post, they said they wanted to help because it supported free speech, and so theatres would be free from panic as their servers would become the target instead. North Korea fiercely deny any involvement, calling the allegations slander, and have demanded a joint investigation. Meanwhile, Sony haven't indicated if they will take the hackers up on their offer, but they have pledged to find a way to get the film out. Katerina Moe, BBC News.
And friends, that's it for our Sunday night report. God willing, and the creek don't rise, we'll be back again here tomorrow night, Monday night, with the day's current news related to the Bible and prophecy here on Nightcast. Until next time, your host, Stephen Lloyd Gilbreth, saying so long and good night, friends.
You have been watching Nightcast with Stephen Lloyd Gilbreth. Nightcast can be seen Sunday through Thursday nights here on cogtv.org. Tonight's program is also available anytime on demand in the cogtv.org video archive.